In a city like Berlin, where the scars of war meet the promise of sustainability, one forgotten fortress tells a story of resilience, nature, and power of green space. Fort Hahneberg, hidden in the western edges of Berlin in the Spandau district, is more than just a relic of 19th century military engineering. It has become a thriving urban green space, a symbol of adaptive reuse, and a remarkable example of biophilic urban planning, the idea that cities should nurture the human connection to nature. Let's explore how this abandoned military structure has become a sanctuary for biodiversity, a public green lung for Berliners, and an inspiring model for biophilic cities of the 21st century. Fort Hahneberg was constructed between 1882 and 1883 during a time of heightened militarization in the German Empire. It was part of Berlin's outer defense ring and one of the last examples of Prussian fort building before such structures became obsolete due to the advent of more powerful artillery. Interestingly, even before it was completed, Fort Hahneberg was rendered militarily outdated. Rapid developments in explosive technology made such masonry-based forts vulnerable to long-range shelling. As a result, it was never used in battle. For most of the 20th century, the fort lay in semi-abandoned. During the Cold War, it sat within the heavily secured border zone between West Berlin and the GDR, making it inaccessible to the public. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, the area was finally opened, revealing a site overtaken by nature. Today, Fort Hahneberg is a fascinating blend of military history, decay, and natural reclamation. The story of Fort Hahneberg fits neatly into a bigger urban conversation, the concept of biophilia. Coined by biologist E.O. Wilson, biophilia refers to an innate human attraction to nature. A biophilic city, then, is a city that weaves nature into the fabric of urban life, not just through parks, but through design, infrastructure, and public access. Singapore is often cited a global example. The city has turned rooftops into gardens, built vertical forests, and restored mangrove wetlands inside its urban core. Berlin, with its over 2,500 public green spaces, had its own version of biophilia. Fort Hahneberg represents a more grassroots, historically layered version of this, reclaiming industrial and military landscapes and converting them into accessible, ecologically rich spaces. Urban green spaces are not a luxury, they are a necessity. According to the World Health Organization, every resident should live within 300 meters of a green area to ensure access to the physical and mental health benefits nature provides. Berlin performs well in this standard. Nearly 44% of city's area is made of green space, forests, and water bodies, making it one of Europe's greenest capitals. Fort Hahneberg adds value to this green network not because it's manicured like a typical city park, but precisely because it isn't. Its rough terrain, unpaved paths, and minimal infrastructure makes it feel wilder, offering a different kind of nature experience within city limits. One of the reasons Fort Hahneberg is so special is its ecological diversity. The site is now part of a nature conservation area and serves as a habitat for over 150 species of plants and animals, including protected bats, birds of prey, and rare insects. Nature lovers and volunteers have worked for years to maintain the site as a state of minimal interference, allowing for biodiversity to flourish without turning the area into a landscape park. One of the key criteria for successful urban green spaces is accessibility. Fort Hahneberg is located near Staaken, a residential neighborhood in Spandau. It's reachable by bus and bicycle, making it accessible even for those without a car. Community involvement has also played a huge role in preserving and promoting Fort Hahneberg. The Verein Fort Hahneberg e.V. is a local volunteer organization, manages tours, conservation efforts, and public events. Thanks to their efforts, the site is open to the public on weekends, offering guided walks, history talks, and even open-air theater performances. This model, community-driven green space management, is increasingly popular in cities around the world. It not only reduces maintenance costs, but also creates a sense of local ownership and stewardship. Urban planners increasingly recognize that adaptive reuse, repurposing existing structures for new, often greener purposes, is a powerful strategy for sustainability. In the case of Fort Hahneberg, this reuse is non-invasive. The site hasn't been reconstructed or heavily developed. Instead, nature has been allowed to reclaim this structure organically. It now serves as a living classroom for architects, planners, and ecologists who want to explore how history, ecology, and public space intertwine. Other examples of adaptive reuse for green infrastructure include the High Line in New York City, a former elevated railway turned into a linear park. Gasometers in Vienna, converted industrial silos that now include green rooftops and housing. And finally, Berlin's own Tempelhof Feld, a massive former airport now used as open public parkland. These examples showed that green space doesn't always require new land. It can come from rethinking existing spaces. Urban green spaces like Fort Hahneberg don't just serve the environment, they serve people. Numerous studies have shown that access to nature reduces stress and anxiety, encourages physical activity, improves social cohesion, and can even lower urban crime rates. In a rapidly growing metropolis like Berlin, with its population exceeding 3.7 million, the preservation and expansion of green areas is critical. Spandau, where Fort Hahneberg is located, is one of Berlin's most suburban districts. Yet it too faces increasing development pressure. Fort Hahneberg stands a powerful example of how to resist redevelopment while still adding public value. Of course, preserving sites like Fort Hahneberg is not without its challenges. The structure continues to deteriorate, and some areas remain unsafe for public access. Balancing preservation with access, ecology with safety, and community use with conservation is always a delicate task. But the opportunity is immense. As Berlin continues to plan for climate adaptation, sustainability, and livability, spaces like Fort Hahneberg remind us that not every green space needs to be built from scratch. In conclusion, Fort Hahneberg isn't just a historic ruin. It's a story about how cities can grow without erasing their past, how green space can emerge from grey infrastructure, and how biophilia can be a guiding principle in modern urban planning. By respecting history, nurturing ecology, and engaging the community, Berlin has turned to an obsolete fortress into a green treasure. And perhaps that is the lesson. The cities of the future aren't just the ones we build, they are the ones we reclaim.